Hey everyone, welcome to today's Facebook and YouTube Live. I know I'm hopping on here just a tad later than I normally do, but I am glad to be chatting with everybody today. So, as everybody is hopping on, especially over here on Facebook, I'm hoping that comments are turned on and that it is working. So, do be sure to give a shout out to what city you are from, where you live. Is always, it is so fun to see how viewers are just from all over the world. So, anyway, thank you guys for being here. So far, I'm not seeing any comments over on Facebook, but we will still just keep this rolling. Today, I am broadcasting this off of my phone for my viewers over here on Facebook. So I wonder if maybe that's the problem is I need to swap it and start doing videos on my computer like I did last week. So for whatever reason, I'm not able to read the comments over on Facebook today, but we are going to keep going. We've got comments coming in like crazy over here on YouTube. We have got Darlene, she's from Oregon. Hello. Susan. It says it's her birthday. Happy birthday, Susan. She lives in Grafton. And we have a viewer, Deborah, that's from Australia. We have friends tuning in from Mississippi. So it's just good to see everybody again this week. We've got a lot going on in our family. I tried tapping on my screen over here on Facebook and I'm still not able to see the comments. That is the weirdest thing. I might have to swap from here on out and use my computer, like I was saying, instead of my phone, which I've always used my phone. So it's so weird how Facebook makes these updates sometimes and then it changes things, but it's good to see everybody. So we have, excuse me, we have a lot going on in our family right now. School gets out today. School got out at 12, and dad is going to drop off the kids at 3 o'clock today. So, anyway, a lot going on. School officially gets out for the little kids, the Quints, tomorrow. So, tomorrow is officially the last day that my kids are going to be first graders, which is so crazy. Like, I feel like this year has just gone by so fast. We've got Shaden's wedding coming up. We've had questions that have come in about Shaden's weddings. We're going to be talking a little bit about that. And then just summer plans and bucket lists that my kids are talking about, things that they would like to do, things that they want to do, things that we've done in the past that would kind of be nostalgic to do again. We'll be talking about summer camps and all of the things. So I'm excited to chat with everybody today. We had Shaden just barely get into town this last week. So the Quins have been really excited to see him. I think out of everybody, though, Landon has missed Shaden hands down the most. Like they have always been so close since they were just little kids. So it's kind of fun. I know that, like, when you have a family member that gets married, everything kind of changes after that. And so I think my boys are enjoying that time that they do get to spend together and hoping to just make some really great memories this summer. So we are excited about that. Stay tuned for my up and coming vlog. I got that thing all edited and ready to go. So that is going to be released tomorrow morning. If you are on YouTube, it's going to be 9 a.m. And then Facebook doesn't let me pre-schedule posting the blogs, or at least I haven't quite figured out how to do that. So it'll be around the 9 o'clock a.m. Mountain Standard Time frame as well. So stay tuned for that. Chris Carter asked, how old was Landon when the quintuplets were born? When the Quints were born, he was 7 years old. So he has grown so much in the last 7 years. Like, it's crazy for me to think about the age of Landon is the same age that the Quints are now. And I still view the Quints, since they're my youngest kids, as like so small when really they're not. Like, time just goes by so fast. Dottie's tuning in from Port Orchard, Washington. Hi, Dottie. And Jennifer is tuning in from California. Welcome. Okay, well, let's dive in here to some of the questions that have been asked, and then we're going to cover some of the things that Landon has been talking about wanting to do this summer, things that are fun just to do in our community and in our town. It is still kind of got that like small town feel to it, which I do love. Raising my kids in Southern Utah, there's so many fun things to do that are free or inexpensive. We have a lot of events that go on in town. And with dating Chad, there's been a lot of things that he has kept us in the loop on of like what's going on in town because he does work for the county. And so he's kind of always in the know as to what fun things are going on in town for kids. So we do have some fun things that we're excited about that we are going to kick off the summer with, starting with this Friday and Saturday. My kids and I are excited to go watch some Tuacahn Broadway shows. And so that's going to be fun. It is later in the evening. And so we'll see how the Quints do staying up past their bedtime. But it is really well produced shows. And so I think my kids are going to like it. I think Friday night is The Little Mermaid, and then Saturday night is The Wizard of Oz. So if you guys haven't heard of Tuacahn, it is like an off Broadway type of show that our community has. They bring in actors, the best actors from all around the country. So I know I wanna say that the gal that plays Little Mermaid, has played Anna, with Disney before. I don't know. She's, like, really, really talented, so I'm really excited. I saw her in Anastasia. She has just this gorgeous voice and this just wonderful stage presence that's just beautiful to watch as an audience member, so I'm excited for my kids to get to see that. Okay, we've got people tuning in from all over Green Bay, Wisconsin. Roseanne, it's good to see you. And we've got people wishing Susan a happy birthday. So anyway, yeah, lots of fun things. We are kicking off the summer tomorrow with my kids. I really want to I have this little patch of grass in my front yard. I really want to go get some type of like little splash pad or slip and slide. I think my kids would really have fun with the slip and slide this year. And it's like the perfect amount for that. And anyway, I think the kids will be excited just for some warmer weather and the summer sunshine. Okay, let's start off with some of the questions that came in. Our first question comes from Caitlin, HM93. She asks, how many parks do you visit a week? We visit as many as we can. We have a lot of parks in the St. George and surrounding area. So in our community, it takes about 10 to 15 minutes to drive everywhere, which is really nice. So we have like St. George, which is where we live. And then we have like Washington that surrounds that. We have Santa Clara, we have Ivans, we have Hurricane for the locals. It's spelled hurricane, but we say Hurricane. We have so many parks. We have tons of splash pads. We have libraries, multiple libraries that my kids can go to. We have community events. And I want to check out some new parks with my kids. I think they would have a ball trying out some new things this year. And so I kind of even want to do like park hopping where you go to two different parks in the same day. Typically for us, when we do like parks, we like to go in the mornings before it gets like 100 degrees and then be home as the heat picks up because we'll get near like 120 degrees by the end of the summer. Right now, it's still in like the 90-ish category. So it still feels really good to get outside. So we can get out like later. But anyway, so we are excited about that. Jennifer Parker says, I can't believe how big the kids are getting. I have been watching since they were born. Time goes by so fast. And I have felt that having 7 kids, watching Shaden now becoming this young adult that I am just so proud of him. He's getting married. He's doing wonderful things with his life, getting an education, working hard, and having a good balance of fun while doing it. So I am just proud of each one of my kids. But gosh, time goes by so fast. And I think this Mother's Day in particular, it's really hit me just how precious our time is with our children. But I am just excited. I'm excited to welcome Tatum like officially into our family come August. She's just wonderful. I just adore her. She is just joy. I think wherever she goes, she just spreads happiness, and I just love that. That is like one of her many qualities that I really admire. And I also admire the tenderness that she shows towards all of my children. And so anyway, I'm just so excited that she's going to be a part of our family officially come August. Okay, Dottie asks, Are you adding any fun snack prep or cooking experiences for the quintuplets to add a little spark to their lunch routine? We are going to be doing a lot of at-home lunches now that school is out. And my kids are kind of picky eaters, some of them. Like Lily's great. You can feed her anything, and she loves trying new foods, even trying it once. And hold on just a second here. Sometimes I have phone calls that come in that are spam calls, probably. Um, okay, what was I talking about? Oh, okay, like foods and all of that. So we have, now that the kids are getting older, we've been able to do a little bit more baking, a little bit more cooking, and a little bit more meal prep because Landon is older and he's wanting to eat healthier. So we've been doing a little bit more of that with him. But the Quints, especially the girls, have been really excited to cook and bake in the kitchen and try new things. And I think it would be a really great way to have Daisy be willing to try more foods. She's probably my pickiest eater. I think it's like a sensory thing for her. Violet just has a lot of food allergies. And so finding creative ways for her to try new foods and see how she does with them, I think is something that Violet's very much excited about. I was going to share with you guys though, I did try a new recipe. I was going to share this. I just made this yesterday. I was craving chocolate chip cookies. And so I hopped on Pinterest and came across like a really good um okay, I'm totally having a spammer text me right now about my bank info. That's weird. So I found this new recipe. It's a Joanna James recipe for chocolate chips. And I think this is going, it's really, really good. And it has like I'll open these so you can see, but it's like really moist on the inside. And so I think this is gonna last like a good week. But when I first made it, it seemed like it was super doughy, but I feel like it sets up, this recipe sets up better. Like on the second day, Landon and I loved them. Chad thought they were too sweet. We will try the taste test with the quints that can have eggs and see what they think. But I think this will transition really well, this recipe into being an egg-free recipe for the quints that are allergic to eggs. So I want to try that when the quints get home and settle into our routine a little bit more later on today. So I am excited to try that. Caitlin asks, how have the kids been adjusting to having chat around? Caitlin, that is a really great question. As with anything, I just always want to be mindful of how my children think and feel as they are introduced to people in their lives. And we've been dating for over a year, and it's been something we've really taken our time and been very mindful of how all of our kids think and feel. My kids really do love having him around, and I do too. Landon and Shaden think he's a great guy, and I do too. So good question. Okay, Heather's tuning in from Dallas, North Carolina. Welcome. And Lydia just tuned in. Hi, Lydia. Welcome. Okay, next question is from Janet Davis, 6 kids. I'm assuming Janet has 6 kids. She asked, when is Shaden getting married? Shaden and Tatum are getting married August 2nd. And I think there's going to be a sweetness in the timing that they have selected. Landon's birthday is August 3rd. So we're going to have a lot of sweet things to celebrate come August. Dottie says you can make ice cream sandwiches with the chocolate chip cookies. That is such a great idea. I just bought vanilla ice cream. I really like Breyer's vanilla ice cream. They're French vanilla. And that is going to give us some fabulous ideas of what we can do this evening for dessert. Lydia asked, can you give us the recipe? I sure can. I found this recipe off of Pinterest. Maybe I will include that. Let me put a little note. I'll include that recipe. I might need to change and adapt things a little bit to how I made it, but I was surprised because this recipe surprisingly calls for a heaping teaspoon, I think it was, of baking soda. I've never done a heaping teaspoon of baking soda ever with anything. So it cooked a little different than what I was used to, but it was a really simple and easy recipe to make. Chris says, keep the cookies fresh by putting a slice of bread in with them. I have heard of that and I've actually never done it. So maybe I will try that. I just picked up bread from the store today. And Jody's tuning in from Louisiana. And Ava is tuning in from Belgium. Welcome. Okay. Karen Millican. Karen asks, are any of the kids going to be in the wedding? I don't know yet. That really is up to Tatum and Shaden. Whatever they decide is what we will do, but the Quints are definitely excited. And Sarah says cookies can be frozen. I usually will freeze cookies. Like if I make a batch of egg-free cookies, sometimes I'll freeze them for the week that my kids are at their dad's, so I don't have to make them again for the following week. I'll have to see how this recipe does frozen, but I bet it does really well. And I bet it does really well frozen, especially making like ice cream sandwiches that are cookie based. I think that's gonna be such a good idea. Okay, Yvonne asked, what are your summer plans? The littles are growing up so fast. Um, so let's see. So yeah, we're going to Tuacahn to watch some Broadway in the desert this weekend. So my kids are excited about that. Some of the things that we've done in the past that Landon has expressed interest in, and Skylar's house is actually a little bit closer to the river. We say a river, it's more like a fast moving stream here in Southern Utah. I don't know. We call it the river, but that is something that's kind of nostalgic that people have done for years is they go down to the river and they go tubing or they play on the little sandbars. The river changes every year. So I'm hoping that the same spots that we've gone in years past are still like you can still get down to through like the brush and all of that. But that would be really fun. So we want to do that. We've talked about doing a fishing trip and we've made plans to go up to Penguich Lake and we're going to go up to Grandma and Grandpa Smith's cabin. So that's going to be fun. I'm trying to think any other things. I'm just excited to have a break of school and do all the fun things and stay up a little bit later and sleep in a little bit late. I think it'll be nice. Except the Quints, they always get up when the sun is up. So they're going to be up no matter what, whether we stay up late. Let's see. Chris says, I see a change in the little boys growing up so much. So interesting how they are so talkative. I think so. I think they're expressing themselves a little bit better now that the boys are getting older. One thing that's been surprising is lately is how talkative and assertive Daisy is becoming. And I actually really love that. She tends to be our child that is a little bit more sensitive. And so it's fun to see how she thinks and feels about things. It's just really fun. And I love that about her right now as she is growing and developing. It's just great. Sarah says, I make cookie dough. I shape it into the cookies, then I freeze them uncooked and put out a few to bake at a time. I have not tried that. I bet that would work really, really well. Ruth O'Brien says park hopping is so much fun and she does it with her grandkids. I had somebody say that last summer that they did that with their grandkids, and I think that's a fabulous idea. Okay, next question is from Mavis. She says, will you get some time for yourself this summer? You deserve it. I will. So dad and I are going to be alternating weeks, primarily 1 week on, 1 week off, and then we rotate holidays. So there may be longer stretches where the kids are with mom or with dad because our holidays are kind of tagged on to that time. So I will have times of like a 2 week stretch where I can get extra work done, get my house back in order. I function really well with a tidy home. It doesn't have to be spick and span clean. I'm not wired so much like that, but just tidy. I like a tidy home. So I'll have time for that. I will have time for rest. I'll have time for extra work, hobbies, reading books, things that are interesting to me, and time with people that I care about. So I will get those breaks. And that is one thing that is kind of different about our family with divorce is I do get times where I can get time off and get a little bit more work done, which is nice. Okay, Janik asks, have you decided what classes your children will be in and with what sibling for next year? So I've talked about this before. My kids will be going into the second grade and there are 4 classes. There are 4 teachers. I'm excited because 2 of the teachers, um, I somewhat know. So Lincoln's teacher, she is going to be moving to teaching second grade, and she was on maternity leave this last year, and she is wonderful. So I know one of my kids will have her as a teacher, and she's so sweet. We love her. So I don't know who is going to be divvied out yet or who's going to be paired up with who. This last year, we had Violet and Lincoln paired up in the same class, and that was really nice. Each of them are so very different with their social group of friends. And so I felt like that was a really good call on the teacher and principal and us as parents, is putting those two together. I think they did really well. So I'm hoping that two kids will be paired up, but differently this year, so that they can kind of each have a turn being in the same class. So we don't know yet. The teachers are going to counsel together about that. The way they divide up classes nowadays, at least in my kids' school, is they look at the needs of each child. And one thing that's important in taking those things into consideration are the social needs, the academic needs of each child. If children have special needs, they take that into consideration. One thing that's really cool about my children's school that they attend is they have the deaf program for the hearing impaired in our community. So it's really cool how they incorporate and include everyone. It's a very inclusive school, and I really love that. And so my kids are friends with so many different kids, and I love that about this school. So we'll find out probably by the end of the summer what classes and what teachers each of my kids have. So they are excited about that. And I don't want my boys in the same class. We tried that in kindergarten, and they're just too rambunctious, I feel like, for each other and for the teacher and for the class. And so for us, until they get a little bit older, it's best to have the boys in separate classes. I think the girls do fine in the same class, but I still am really loving right now that my children are finding their own identity outside of each other as siblings, as quintuplets, as twins, as they sometimes call each other, or triplets, which I think is a good thing. So maybe next year we might pair them up where they can all be together in like two different classes. But for this up and coming school year, that's what we've decided. Okay, Susan asked, are the kids doing any summer sports or summer camps? Dad and I have discussed signing the kids up potentially for like football for the fall. Or at least the boys have had an interest in wanting to play sports. So that doesn't start though until later. As far as summer camps, I don't currently have the children signed up for any summer camps. I would love to sign them up. But I'm also really mindful of budgeting right now. So I'm trying to think outside the box with fun summer activities, things that my kids can do, get out of the house, but also like programs that we can do in the house. So if anybody has any ideas, you can leave them in the comments. My friends over here on Facebook, I'm not seeing any comments right now during the live video. But when this goes live and is posted, then I can go back and read every single comment. So if you have ideas for things that you've done with your kids, with your grandkids, I would love ideas. And I do read the comments. Since I'm not able to read the comments, I will say though, I do appreciate people being kind and respectful about my family right now. I always appreciate that. Chris Carter says the Shakespeare Festival in Cedar is cool. I've never done that. I've always wanted to do it. Back when Skylar and I were married, that was something that we had talked about, was this Shakespeare Festival and doing that sometime, but I never have had the opportunity to go do that. Um, Gail asked, you work with your children on phonics and reading during the summer. I do feel like I have more one-on-one time with my kids because the days seem longer. And so I'm able to snuggle up and read with my kids. I am noticing though that my girls especially have more of an interest in reading like specific books. Like we had a viewer send us a whole bunch of books for their birthday, I want to say, about different topics, like I think like dolphins and animals and birds. And so the girls have been reading what they can, and that's cool. Sarah says that she's done Bible camp and her grandson really liked it. They do offer like young adults like church camps, but my son Lannon's not really interested right now. And so I'm very mindful of like what he would like to do and letting my boys and girls take the lead on summer things that they have an interest in doing. That's something I did attend. It's kind of like a Bible camp. When I was younger, they had something called Especially for Youth. And so what Especially for Youth is it's like a week-long summer camp where you can go and it's like a deep dive into scripture study, and they have like fun activities and group bonding activities they do. They always do like a dance that the kids get to go to. And so I did that from the time I was 12 until I was 18, and I loved it. I went every summer and had such a good time. I made so many good friends. And, anyway, so I'm hoping at some point my kids will wanna get into that because I think it's so good for kids, and I think it's so good for communities. I just feel like it really builds youth and it teaches them good morals and values, so I'm a big fan of Bible camps and, things like that. Let's see. Cat 3 says public library has a great program with lots of rewards and prizes. That's probably something that my kids would now be old enough to do. They're still learning those responsibilities and habits of how to take care of things. So I just don't want to be charged or fined if my kids, like rip a book or step on it. Anyway, I would love to take my kids and do that. I think we'd have to have like a little bin probably above like their bookcase where we keep all the books in, so we know who checked out what book, but I think that would be really fun. And our library does that too, which I love. They do rewards and prizes. Um, Margie says, "I love your family. I love making fairy windows out of twigs and leaves and flowers. They are so much fun." That reminds me of the movie, what is it? Saving Mr. Banks. Have you watched that movie? The writer and author of Mary Poppins, that was something she did in her childhood. That's something that little grandma did when she was a little kid too. And so it's kind of nostalgic for when we like go to parks and stuff for my kids to play with sticks and twigs and build little forts and houses and fairy stuff. I think that would be a sweet idea. Margie says, I loved especially for youth. It was so fun. It's where I really gained a testimony of the gospel. I joined the church when I was 16. That's a really cool story. Yeah, I think people have different conversion stories when they join their faith and their religion. And it's always fun to hear how people found their way into the or like their religion. My grandparents were um converts to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and I think they joined the church when my dad was just a little boy, and so it was fun to hear their stories of how they learned about the church and learned about the gospel of Jesus Christ, and I'm just grateful that they did. I grew up in an extended family, in a family where the gospel and its teachings and principles were really instilled in us in such a kind and gentle way as children, but we were also taught to love others. And that is something that I will always advocate for, is treating all people with love and kindness, even people that have different beliefs or different views religiously speaking as us, and trying to find the common ground, I think is important in our dialogue in communities and in families as well. Okay, Mary says libraries. Yes. Reading books, get gifts. Yes. Nikki says, hi, Jamie. Hope all is well with you. Yes, I'm doing really well. Mickey says, when my kids were younger, we took them into museums. They are both big on history right now. I love going to museums and I love exposing my kids to that. One of the coolest museums I ever did is we took a family trip to a mummy museum, like an Egyptian museum in San Jose, California. And it was so cool. Like I can still remember like the smell of that museum because it was so different. Like you could smell the artifacts and how old they were. You could smell the humidity and the moisture in the air. It was fascinating to me. And I wanted to read like every single thing. So I do love museums. I think my kids would be into it as well. Um, let's see. Um, Margie says, yes, love others. Kindness is everything. My parents are not members, so I believe this too. I do. And I have different extended family members that are a part of different faiths too. And so I think loving others and being kind is so very important. Tammy says libraries around me have some programs for kids. Kids keep reading the log for prizes, but they also have fun activities and programs. That's something that I do want to check into is to see what fun activities our local library does offer. Sometimes they have like special guests that'll come and teach the kids about cool topics, and especially Logan and like different things that my kids are each interested in. Like Logan is really interested in like science, mathematics, engineering, building. So if they have like summer activities like that that are, inexpensive or free, that is something I will be all on board for. Ruth O'Brien says you could do a scavenger hunt, build a fort, backyard camping, just a few ideas to keep the little kids busy. Yes, I have thought of those things. Even building a fort inside and letting the kids sleep in it could be fun. I think having like a sleepover where we all get to sleep downstairs and just make it fun and make it different kind of changes up um, the summer a little bit, which would be fun. Heather says maybe doing small cooking like baking cookies or making like a pitcher of lemonade or iced tea and taking that to different places around your area, like the police station or the firehouse. I do love that. And I would love to give my kids like little field trip experiences. So maybe we could like, go tour a firehouse. I know that if you call in advance, places in our community in town are really hospitable to families and little kids. Um, let's see, tons of ideas. Alicia says, do they get to do their Alexia program during the summer? Yes, Lincoln is obsessed with doing Alexia. For those of you who don't know what Alexia is, it is something that the kids learn in the schools and it teaches them all kinds of academics. Lincoln is very motivated to set goals and reach the next level. I do want an extra computer though that's like for kids. So I just need to buy one because my work computer, I need it for editing. I need it to do work like this. So I kind of need a separate computer for them. And what we do in my home is my kids have to earn time on phones and eventually computers to be able to play like Minecraft or an educational video game. Um I really like what is it called? Homer, the Homer app. You can get it on your phone. I think it's like $70 for the year, but my kids really like that. It's really good for learning. Um Irma says Arizona is so close to you. Take a trip and go to the Science Museum for Children. That's an awesome museum. I think I've been there. So when I was pregnant with the quintuplets, I lived in the Ronald McDonald House. And with the Ronald McDonald House and the contributions and donations of so many people, um, we are we were able to go and have different experiences for free. So like we could go to the local zoo if you stay at Ronald McDonald House. We also got to go to the museum. My big boys really loved it. It was pretty cool, pretty fun. And I think they offer like other things that we were able to do. So that was really fun. I know like a trip back to Arizona would be so nostalgic. I think we would love it. Um, Day Day asked, does your church put on a vacation Bible camp or anything like that for kids? So now things have kind of evolved with my church, and now they offer more affordable types of Bible camps for kids. So now they've kind of kept things more local. So kids have the option to do, especially for youth or what's called EFY, in other places around the world, or at least around the country, at least in the state of Utah for sure. But now they try and do a little bit more locally based because it makes it more affordable for all different families with different backgrounds. And so now they do more like firesides where you'll have like a speaker give like a motivational talk about, morals, values, being a good person, contributing to society in healthy ways. And then they usually do like dances and stuff. So those are fun get togethers for kids. Um, Okay, Eva or Ava says exposing kids to culture and different subjects in general is so important for their openness to the world and society. You're doing a good job teaching and speaking. That's really sweet of you. Um, Linda says, check with the library for free passes to various places. At my library, I can check out passes to the zoo, museums that normally charge a fee like Six Flags. Linda, I want to live where you live. Are you in California? I'm hearing Six Flags. That sounds like a good library. Catherine says library giveaways and free fun programs and activities with summer reading. I totally agree. Okay, now you guys are getting me all motivated. See, like this is what I do for a living. It's called being an influencer, but I feel like you guys are influencing me to want to do like some really fun activities with my kids based on your experiences with your kids and grandkids. So that gets me really excited. And now my wheels are turning on all the fun things I now want to do with my kids for our summer bucket list. Okay. Alicia says, how about writing letters to the nurses in the NICU hospital, whether it be in St. George or Arizona? That's actually a really sweet idea. I know some of our nurses are still there at the NICU at St. Joseph's in Arizona. Some of them have taken jobs elsewhere. So now some of our nurses are now in Colorado. My favorite nurse moved to Colorado. I've still got one, but she's in Arizona, but she's transferred hospitals. Those were my two favorite nurses. They are still good friends of mine. Every now and again, we catch up, and it's so good to hear from them. They really, we owe our lives to so many good, amazing people that work in doctor's offices and were nurses and just wonderful people to my family. Candy says, Jamie, you're such a good mama. I don't know how you manage to keep up with each of your children's individual interest with how busy you are. Sometimes I feel like I fall short, but I do my best to meet the needs of each of their kids. And I feel like between their dad and I, those needs are met. And with an extended support system with both sides of our family, I feel like their needs are being met. Okay. Terry says we have lots of free or discounted passes to museums, aquariums, etc. Check your local library. Um, let's see. Okay, Sarah asked, would you feel comfortable telling more about your female repair surgery? What was featured on your show when the Quints were little? I believe I had a similar she's talking about kind of the repair of what that was like having quintuplets. I am 5'4". I don't weigh that much, so it did a lot to my body. I have had bladder repair, I've had bowel repair, I had a prolapse uterus, so I've had a hysterectomy. Yeah, we can talk about that. I know I do have some men that do watch this channel, so you're gonna know things that maybe you didn't know before. But yes, having quintuplets is hard on the female body. I had my doctor, um, world-renowned doctor, tell me that the female body was not designed to have more than twins. And so it was unusual for my body, and there was a lot to put me back together again. I've had an an abdoplasty, so like my muscles, stomach muscles were, I had like a 4.5 inch gap, and so that was repaired. It was difficult to push a grocery cart or carry my kids without that surgery. I don't wear bikinis, so I don't know that that part matters. Like nobody ever sees my stomach, but it feels nice to have those stomach muscles again and be able to push a grocery cart and pick up my kids a little easier. So yeah, it is a lot on the female body, but miracles do happen, and I'm grateful for good doctors that put me back together again in that way. Alicia asks, is your core strength and more? Yeah, I have a built-in six pack now. If I choose to work out, it comes back really fast now, which is kind of nice. So bouncing back, yeah, it did take a while to recover from those surgeries. I think the hardest surgery to recover from though was honestly not the bladder repair, but the bowel repair. That one was really hard, recovery. And the abdoplasty, that was a long time recovering. It was similar to a C-section, but a lot worse in some ways because I was hunched over because they literally cut your muscles, or not cut your muscles, but cut your skin and stitch you back together again. So that one was kind of weird. And I wasn't expecting the recovery on that to be so hard. But there were good doctors here in town. Mickey says, as parents, we all feel like we fall short, but at the end of the day, we have actually met all their needs. I hope so. I hope in the end my kids can say that. Okay. Kathy asks, what is your favorite color? My most favorite color is blue. And I also like green, so you see a lot of me wearing blues and probably greens in videos. Claire asks, "What is your favorite part of summer?" Favorite part of summer is staying up late, sleeping in. I love July 4th. I love the fireworks. I love the nostalgia of summer. I love going down to the river and feeling the sand between my toes. I love the smell of water and freshly cut grass. I love giving my kids those childhood experiences of simplicity and celebrating the little things. Although we have a lot of big things to celebrate this summer. So that's what I'm most excited about with summer. What are you guys most excited about with summer? I'm not excited necessarily about the heat. I don't do well in the heat. I have had to make some changes with my water intake because I love me a good Diet Dr. Pepper. You know, I love my sodas, but I really have to cut back in the summer because I get dehydrated so fast. Day Day says I was in your area last summer and wow, is it hot? It really is. It's not as hot as Phoenix though. Like I can handle living here over Phoenix any day. Sarah says, thank you so much for sharing that, Jamie. Me too. It all had collapsed on me. So I had 5 repair procedures done all at once. It was a hard recovery for me. 1 year of recovery and very painful. Yeah, you know, thunderstorms, lightning, thunderstorms, I can still tell between my knees, like probably early arthritis from old dancer knees, I can tell that it's going to rain and that there's a storm coming before it does. And then also with the stomach surgery of like having a C-section, it's really weird. But I get these like weird muscle spasms where things like twitch. It's really weird with, like, the nerve endings there because your nerve endings don't exactly, like, reunite back together again, so they get a little fiery right before a storm comes. It is the weirdest thing. So, things like that are kinda weird after having surgeries, but I don't know, I guess it's kind of a good intuition before the storm hits. Alicia asked, "What would you like better, humid hot or dry hot weather?" Not humid hot. I do not do well the month of August when it is hot and it is humid. I try and stay indoors because that combination for me, like the way I'm wired, is just hard on my body. So I have to really make sure that I'm hydrated. And for me, I have to try and put on extra weight before August comes just because of how my body is. Um, Margie says she loves the garden in the summer. Margie, where do you live? Um, because summer gardening is a little bit different here in Southern Utah. Things don't grow as well for me in the summer, depending on what it is. Gail says the things that I love about summer are the farmers markets. I live in Northern Utah, so it's a treat. I do love farmers markets. They do have farmers markets that they do offer here in Southern Utah and some new locations. So I'm excited to go to those. And there's nothing like fresh garden grown tomatoes. Like I detest like store-bought garden tomatoes. After you've had fresh tomatoes from the garden, it's just not the same. So farmers markets are really great places for that. Um Teresa says, did you ever receive the book I sent about the quints born decades ago? I sent it quite a while ago. Yes. When I first found out I was pregnant, so I do have that book. I still have it. When I first found out that I was pregnant with quintuplets, one of the first things that popped up was the first like successful delivery where the kids lived that had quintuplets, the Dion quintuplets. So I really educated myself on their childhood, their life, their growing up years. And so I will at some point hopefully get to read that book that you sent me, Teresa. I appreciate that. And I've learned a lot from the things that they have talked about. Terry says she's excited about her second grandchild coming. I have a 4-year-old granddaughter, Lucy, and soon to have our first grandson who is due the end of August. That is so exciting. And, you know, probably in the next 10 to 15 years, I'll probably get to experience that too. So, you know, life changes, life evolves, and I think love grows. And I think, you know, in closing with this video today, that's something that's really been on my mind is how love can expand and it can grow with time. And I'm excited to see where that goes for my family. So anyway, Sarah says, I remember the weird nerve findings as they repaired themselves over time. They do feel very strange. And bending and coughing was painful for about 6 months after surgery. Yes. The thing I hated was like having to wear, it's not a girdle, but it's more or less kind of the same thing. It's like a compression garments, and you kind of have to phase yourself out of them. And I was so worried after the surgery to not be wearing each of those compression garments. But they really, really did help. So, anyway, Sarah, I'm glad you were able to have the surgeries that you needed. I know being a woman comes with a lot of things. And, you know, that I had one of the questions come in, what is it going to be like as your girls get older and teaching all those things? And, I believe in educating and teaching my girls early, about what it means to be eventually a woman and what it means to be a girl. And so those have been conversations we have slowly been easing into because it is important for them to understand those kinds of things. So, yeah, everybody's just growing and we are just excited for summer. It officially kicks off tomorrow. So stay tuned. I will vlog some of the things we're up to. I'm going to end this video though, because dad is going to be dropping the kids off at 3 and I want to give my children my full attention. So love you all. Thank you for tuning in to today's live video. Hope you enjoyed it. And as always, thank you for your love and your kindness and your continued support of my family. We love you. Have a good rest of your week. Stay tuned for my vlog. It is coming Thursday at 9 a.m. We'll see you soon. Bye.